Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and today I'm going to be taking a look at Art Robbery from designer Reiner Knizia and publisher Helvetique. In Art Robbery, you play art robbers who are going on a series of raids, and you've stolen some loot, but now you got to figure out how you're going to split it up. It's a simple little card game. Let's head over to the table, I'll show you how it plays, then we'll come back here and I'll let you know what I think. All right, in Art Robbery, you are a group of thieves who have robbed an art museum, but now you've got to split your loot here. And so you're going to be going through 4 raids, which are essentially rounds, trying to get the most points to win the game. And so what you're going to do is at the beginning of the round or the raid, you're going to take that raid's tokens and spread them out face up in the center of the table. In the first raid, at the beginning of the game, that guard dog token is also going to start in the center, but that's going to be moving around the table as the game goes on. Then every player would get a hand of 5 cards, and you would begin. Let's just go through the different types of cards that are in the game. The most frequent type of card you'll come across are these number cards, and they are numbered from 0 to 5. And when you play these cards, it's very simple. If you play a 2, for example, you would take the corresponding token, the number 2 token, from the center of the table. If that token is not in the center of the table, it's instead in front of someone's play area, you would steal it from them. Again, when you play a number token, if there is a corresponding, or when you play a number card, if there is a corresponding token in the center, you have to take it from the center. Otherwise, you'll steal it from the player who has it. So again, numbers 0 to 5 corresponding with those tokens. And those numbers also correspond to points. Another card that is in the game is the guard dog card. And when you play the guard dog card, you are going to take the guard dog token from whoever has it. At the beginning of the game, it's in the center of the table. That's the only time it'll be in the center of the table. So the first person to play the guard dog card will take this and put it in their play area. What the guard dog token allows you to do is if someone does try to steal a token from you, let's say you had the 2 in front of you and then someone else played the 2 card, if you've got the guard dog token, you can choose to, instead of giving them the token, give them the guard dog token. All right, so it kind of protects you if you want to from having something stolen. Another card here is the greedy thief card. When you play the greedy thief card, you can choose any token from the center of the table, but you can never use that card to steal from another player. So this just allows you to take any token from the center of the table. The last special card here is the boss card, and when you play the boss card, you're going to take the boss token, which has that figure represented there. The way this works is that at the end of the raid, which is going to trigger when the last token is taken from the center, whoever has the boss token will score those 5 points only if they also have a 4 or a 5 token in their play area. So you can only score this boss token if you have a 4 or a 5 with you at the end of the raid. So the last thing to point out is that you might notice this 0, which is going to give you 0 points, has those 2 dots. Those are alibis. At the end of the game, after all 4 raids, everybody is going to reveal the tokens that they have collected to that point. Whichever player has the least amount of alibis has been caught by the police and they cannot win the game. They are eliminated. And so as you go through, the distribution of those alibis are going to change. In the first round, there's only 1 token with 2 alibis on it. In the second raid, you've got 2 tokens. You've got a 0 with 2 alibis and a 1 with 1 alibi. In the third raid, this changes things up significantly in that you've got 3 tokens with alibis, a 0 with 2, a 1 with 1, and a 2 with 2, but you have 2 boss tokens. 2 boss tokens and only 1 4. All right? So if you are able to get all of these in your play area, that's 14 points potentially. And then in the last raid, you've got a double alibi 0, an alibi 1, 2, 4, and a 5. So you can see that the distribution of those alibis change as you go through the game. So you play through all 4 raids. You then reveal your tokens, find out who's got the least amount of alibis. For the people that are still eligible to win, whoever has the most points is going to win Art Robbery. All right, let's head over and I'll let you know what I think about it. Okay, so there was Art Robbery. Very simple rules, as you would probably expect from a Reiner Knizia card game. It's not a whole lot to figure out how to play the game. The trick is how to find the little quirks of strategy and things along those lines. So the first thing I want to do is talk about some benchmarks. These are just some high-level ideas that I consider when I'm figuring out whether I want to play a particular game or not. The first thing is rules. And as I mentioned, this is a very simple game, so there are not a whole lot of rules. However, the rules that are there are well explained. There is no real confusion as far as how the cards work. Now, I do have to mention that there's one kind of quirk to this game that has actually created a little bit of controversy online, and that is related to the third raid. If you'll remember, in the overview, I showed that the distribution of the tokens was different in that particular raid, where you had 2 boss tokens and only 1 number 4 token and no number 5s. Now, there's nothing in the rules that mentions this discrepancy, nothing at all that addresses it. And so this has left some people to assume that there is a misprint, that there was an error in the production of the game, and that one of those boss tokens should have instead been a 5 token, so that the distribution would have been like the other raids, where there's 1 boss token, a 4, and a 5. Now, there's nothing, again, in the rules that mentions this. There has been questions on Board Game Geek about this particular issue, and a representative from the publisher has said that they may actually change the game to reflect this kind of question, where they'll, instead of 2 boss tokens, they'll have 1, just because people have been confused by it. Other people are saying that this was not intentional and this is them trying to fix it. I don't know any of that. The bottom line is this: I've played the game both ways. I've played it where you've got those 2 boss tokens and you play them as such, and you can only keep them if you have the 4. And I've played it where we treated one of the boss tokens as a regular 5 and the other as a regular boss token. The game works either way. I really think you can play it as to your group's preference. I don't think it's that big of a deal. However, I think you could have, dealt with some of this confusion if you had addressed it specifically in the rules. So that's why I'm bringing it up here in the rules section. The other thing is set up and tear down, and this is a breeze. It's a little card game. It takes you a few seconds to set those tokens up, to put them in piles and deal out the cards. There's nothing to the setup and tear down. It's very quick. All right, art and components. Pretty much all positives here. The quality of the art and the cardboard tokens are good, and that's important because these are cards you're going to be shuffling a lot. I don't think there's any need to sleeve these cards. They are good quality. I feel like they're going to hold up well to repeat plays. That wooden guard dog meeple is cool. It's not necessary, but it is a nice little touch, and it gives you an extra feeling of incentive to have that dog in front of you, and it looks a little more imposing than a cardboard token. So I think it's cool. I'm glad that they went with the wooden guard dog token as opposed to keeping it cardboard like the other tokens are as well. The other thing is that I really like the art aesthetic of this game, the kind of, I don't know if it's almost like an Art Deco feel to it, but in a game that is about art, well, it's about stealing art, it's nice that there's a kind of nice stylized look to the game. Now, the number cards are very simple. They just have a little bit of a splash of color, but I prefer that. The cards are very easy to read, and you could read them across the table, so I prefer that they went with that usability over, the style. But the rest of the art in the game has a really nice kind of stylized look with those greedy thief cards and the guard dog card and the boss card. I think it's a really slick-looking package overall. So for my overall game impressions, a couple of things that did not work as well for me, and then the things that I did like. On the negative end is that the game is, it feels a little bit one note. I'm not sure that this is a game that you're going to be playing over and over and over again, because essentially you're doing the same thing in each raid. There's really not a lot of variation. There's not a big game arc to this. You're basically just playing out those cards and trying to get the tokens out of the center and trying to set yourself up well to have the best combination of points while not being the person with the least amount of alibis at the end of the game. And so that leads to another slight negative, which is that you could sometimes get into this little bit of a circular give-take cycle that happens in the game where you're just kind of passing tokens around from back and forth because you're stealing tokens from other people, putting the guard dog out there to block it, then someone's taking the guard dog from you, and then they're taking a token, and then you're taking the token back from them. So you can kind of sometimes get stuck in that little bit of a loop, and that's a little bit repetitive at times. Now, on the positive end, the things I do like is that this is a game that is super easy to teach. I think you can probably play this game with just about anyone. It is a gateway style type game. I don't know that anyone's going to have trouble internalizing what you have to do, figuring out the rules. The strategies are readily apparent to an extent, and I think that that's a positive. Also, there's that really nice ratio that I like to find where it takes you a few seconds to teach the game, but the game experience is greater than the sum of the parts are better than the whole is better than the sum. You know what I'm getting at here. I hope you know what I'm getting at here, is that it's such a simple game to teach, but the experience is one that belies that. And also, there's a bit more depth than is readily apparent. Now, I said that there are some apparent strategies, and obviously you want to get the most points and not have the fewest amount of alibis. But typical of a game from this designer, from Reiner Knizia, is that there's a little more depth. The more you play the game, the more you see kind of these little underlying bits that you might not see the first time or two you play it. Hand management is much more important than might appear the first time. You only have a hand of 5 cards, but sometimes you're going to want to hold cards back for later raids because you don't get new cards necessarily between raids. Every time you play a card, you draw a new card, and you don't discard your cards at the end of a raid. You keep the cards that you've got. And I didn't mention this during the overview, but between raids, whoever has the guard dog token is going to be the first one to lead out in the next raid. And so deciding which cards you want to keep for future raids can be less obvious than it might appear the first couple times you play it. So I like that. And also another big positive for me is that little twist that Knizia will often do, a little kind of scoring twist, which is the alibis. And so you can go really heavy into those high point value tokens, but until that last raid, those high value tokens are not going to give you any alibis. And so you can't be one note with that. You have to be, kind of balancing getting the alibis, getting the high point tokens when you can, hopefully trying to snag at least one of those boss tokens with a corresponding 4 or 5 to get those big scores. And so putting those alibis in there really is a nice little twist, so you can't just go for the high point tokens. And it also helps with some of that kind of circular loop of you're not going to only be going for the high point value tokens. Sometimes you want to get those lower point value with the alibis. So all in all, it is a solid filler gateway card game with a couple of nice little twists, some hand management going on there. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I can easily recommend it. I'm not going higher than that because, as I mentioned, it can be a little bit one note. I don't know that it's a game you're going to come back to over and over and over again, but pulling it out once in a while with a group of people that want to have a little bit of a, kind of a battling, push and pull experience, you can do a lot worse than Art Robbery. There you go. This is Mike DiLisio signing off from Dice Tower headquarters.